All right, well, let's get into some reacts. We got level cap. It begins. Star Citizens 2024 will be insane. It begins. Jared comes out and says what 2024 is going to be, and then people start believing. Here we go.
Star Citizen is finishing up 2023 in style with a brand new patch 3.22, server replication layer testing at scale, which I was just in, and it works, 3 new vehicles, and a roadmap for 20.
It works. Was there, okay, I gotta know, was there any servers that replication layer was actually turned on that a server crashed and you were automatically put in another one? Because I had it on and I 30K'd. So I'm not like, did Level actually experience it? I heard it worked in the closed testing, but I didn't see it work in the open testing because there was no recovery. And that's the whole thing about it for us, is the servers weren't hell though. That's for sure. So maybe that's what he means by works.
2024 that shows a breakneck pace in which we will be getting some of the most anticipated features of the entire game over the next 6 months. There's so much to talk about, I don't know where to begin, so I'm just going to start with the latest replication layer test. But before I get into those awesome details, first I have a quick word from today's sponsor. Payday 3's first major DLC is here. Syntax Error pits you against a high-tech AI-powered data center called Scry Digital. The goal is stealing combat data for a cutting-edge drone operating system. Now, Scry's AI sins will throw everything it can at you to stop you from completing the mission. This includes a running commentary on your performance as it throws an army of
Sharp has been trying to get me to play Payday 2 with him for years, to the point where Payday 3 came out and I still never did.
SWAT teams your way. The DLC includes the new heist challenges, a soundtrack, story mode scenes, 4 new suits and masks, plus a weapon pack with 3 new guns. The War 45 SMG, the FSA 12-gauge shotgun, and the FIK 22 TLR marksman rifle. Plus weapon attachments, a new weapon charm, and weapon stickers. Grab the Syntax Error bundle with my link below. You can play it on the Epic Games Store, Steam, Xbox Series consoles, and the PlayStation 5. The bundle is also automatically included in the 6-month and Year 1 season passes. Alongside the DLC, the devs also dropped another free major update for all players that includes a new enemy with a cloak, shield, and drones, a new skill line, more free cosmetics, and tons of gameplay updates. Alright, back to the new replication layer test in Star Citizen. I popped into this, it's on the tech preview channel of Star Citizen, so it's not...
I really hope he doesn't say that it's working because of the little thing up here that says true.
Not a part of the live servers or anything like that, but I popped in there and you turn on the display infograph in the upper right. It says server meshing is true, which technically people have been debating about. This means server meshing is working. It's just working between the game server and the replication layer. Normally for the bigger picture server meshing stuff, the replication layer will be interacting with multiple servers. In this case, it seems like it's just interacting with the one game server.
Exactly. So it's not the, like how I described it is, it's not the experience that the player is looking for replication layer, but the test for them was to gather data between, I guess, the information being shared between them. So I guess technically it's true if the replication layer was split and you are communicating with the server. So all the data is going back and forth. So when he does say it worked, I guess he's
now,
right.
Surprisingly,
in that case, right?
The game seemed to be running just as well as a live server, which unfortunately means that the AI were mostly unresponsive while I was engaging them, but otherwise it seemed to be going pretty well for a large-scale test. And I would imagine...
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, the idea here is that the pulling the replication layer out and it saying true should have resolved some server-related slowdowns, and the AI should technically have been more responsive, right? Wasn't that one of the selling features of this, is that the server still can deal with the simulating, but some of the other aspects of the game are being dealt with in replication layer. I feel like I remember them selling us on this. And if the AI in the test, which my experience was the same, were mostly non-responsive, is it an argument that it was a success, or are we just happy that, it wasn't crashing left and right? I'm not sure.
And if the first stage of replication layer testing goes well, then the next stage will be crash recovery, where they'll take the server offline. Everyone playing will kind of freeze up for a second, and then they'll bring on another server. And in theory, everything will just resume as normal after that next server comes online. So that'll be an exciting update, since 30Ks, basically servers crashing in Star Citizen, has been one of the most problematic aspects of trying to play the game in a live environment since pretty much ever. Now, for the live servers, there's also the Luminalia event going on. It's basically the Christmas or holiday season of Star Citizen, and they're doing like a 12 days calendar. If you go to the website and click on the little calendar buttons, you will get rewards like this pink machine gun here that is now account bound, so I'll have it pretty much forever. Also, if you're signing up for a new account and you use a referral code like mine here on screen, you will get actually a really sweet armor set. This one here, and you get like a multi-tool and tractor beam with it. It's honestly a huge quality of life upgrade to spawn with these items already in your inventory, especially a multi-tool and tractor beam. Pretty cool. Now, of course, the 3.22 patch dropped to live.
Why play the game when you could just start with all this stuff, right, guys?
As well, which is a huge upgrade for the whole salvage system. You can now completely salvage ships. There's new container mechanics with them. There's 3 new vehicles in the 3.22 patch, like this really cool Santoki. I think this is the highlight vehicle of the whole patch for me. It's just very neat looking, pretty ship, great visibility, lots of firepower, fun to fly with its maneuvering thrusters allowing you to accelerate in all directions.
Did they dumb down the weapons yet, like they said they were going to? I mean, when it comes to ships, everybody's preference is going to be their own. So he thinks this one's cool. I never really liked the Xi'an style, so it was not that exciting for me. But there's nothing to really add to that. But I know that they were planning on messing with these guns a little bit and said that they were a bit too good.
There's also all kinds of new fun outposts to explore on Microtech and Hurston. There's also new locations for events like Jump Town. The other vehicles in there are a cutter variant called the Rambler. This one adds more quantum fuel but sacrifices some of the storage capacity of it.
Like, it's generally interesting to see what other people find interesting. Like, he just glanced over Jump Town. And for me, the Jump Town part of the update is probably the most interesting in my opinion. I think the Jump Town update is the most exciting. New locations that should possibly provide very new experiences. Lots of trees, one on an island. So yeah, it just should feel a little bit different this time around, which is cool.
It's just sort of a slightly different variant if you really like the cutter. Luckily for Drake users, though, it can fit as many bodies as you want in the back, which really comes in handy for most Drake-related activities. Then there's the X1 hover bike, which I gotta admit is a really cool hover bike. I don't really like the hover vehicles in this game because, one, the controls are kind of wonky, and two, there isn't really any mission purpose built around them yet. It is coming, but this is one of the more elegant ones out there. If you like hover bikes, it's a small, sleek one that seems like it could fit in a lot of different vehicle cargo bays. Then, of course, they're rolling out their new hair system into the game, giving players a lot more hair features, but I think this is going to get upgraded significantly with the upcoming character editor, and apparently that is not far off. Jared dropped some pretty big bombshells on the latest episode of Inside Star Citizen. In a segment called the 2020 Forecast, he detailed the first half of 2024 and what we should expect, and it sounds bananas. Firstly, master modes, the giant overhaul to spaceship flight mechanics for
that immediately had a caveat that they wouldn't deliver all of the ships to master modes.
Exploration, combat, I believe that'll include the new quantum jumping system. Persistent hangars and cargo elevators are coming. The FPS combat improvements that we saw at CitizenCon.
What do you think will be the first implementation of the persistent hangar thing? Do you think it's going to be as in-depth as what they're showing here? And do you think it's going to come with every piece of what they talked about? I'm having a hard time thinking that they can deliver it without everything. Now, everything being vehicle spawning, cargo, the panel that you would interact with. The one thing that I think will obviously not be coming, but might be interesting if it did, is that system to get back your subscriber gear. That thing. But yeah, the thing that I'm the most interested in that they haven't showed is the kiosk. And what we can do with that kiosk. How will we be buying cargo? Will we be landing in our hangars and dealing with our cargo to and from just there, not having to run to the admin and all that crazy stuff? What about the refinery decks? Will that play into it? So what will a persistent hangar feel like when I get into an elevator and there's somebody not in my party and I go to my hangar? What happens, right? There's a lot of interesting questions that I have, because they shouldn't be allowed in my hangar, but it's going to be this fight to get into everyone's elevators and steal their shit. Is that what's going to happen here? So there's a lot of questions that I have on how this is going to play out, on top of the fact that they think people want to move all this cargo all the time. Will the cargo timers exist where you can buy and sell cargo and move it off of your ship, but automatically, right? So there's a lot of this mechanic, this system is very far-reaching and very important for the game. What will it look like in the first half of 2024 is hard to say. We've just, for the most part, have seen things go up and down the elevator, and that's it.
Like better reloading systems where you can take ammo from your backpack, weapon wear and misfires, new scope rendering.
Yo, what do you guys think about being able to take ammo from your backpack? Do you think that that's a W or an L? I always like the idea of having to repack mags and stuff. I'm not going to lie. Like, that is, out of all the things that they stated for the improvements, that was the only one that I was kind of like, that doesn't really feel like an improvement. That feels like dumbing the system down like almost too much. Because then you could just fill your backpack with 100 mags and never run out of ammo. And obviously you just get a little bit of a slower reload. So, huge improvement. You need to spend more time on the ground. What does that have to do with this? It's straight up like you become this tank with endless ammo, basically, is what I'm thinking about. But I can understand people hating repacking mags as well. So it's like this balance between them. I don't know. It feels like an L for me. I always liked watching Tarkov streamers repack mags. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird.
Dynamic crosshairs. Then there's the EVA system, which has been teased for quite a while, where you kind of drift through space in a forward motion and you can grab onto things outside. Looks really cool. The new visor and lens system is coming. The new loot screens is coming, which is very much needed. Item interaction, basically the current inner thought system is getting a complete overhaul with how you interact with the world around you. There's going to be new shopping.
And that was definitely one of the best updates that we got from CitizenCon. It was like, wow, all of this is good quality of life.
Interfaces and mission apps and stuff like that, which sounds awesome. Then we're getting the character customizer, which goes well beyond hair, but into actually just tweaking your face in a really cool way, but also giving you even further control over things like hair, like controlling your dye and hair length and stuff like that. The updated Moby Glass, which is a huge thing. The star map, which is probably everybody's most wanted feature in the game. The massive distribution centers, previously known as UGFs or underground facilities.
These are going to be, if we get these are going to be the most dumbed down. Like, they will grow, they will unlock doors over time.
This is where giant raids and major mission systems
And I mean, look at the frame rates at the current settlements. Imagine what it would be like here.
will take place. He mentioned 4, 5, or even 6 new vehicles coming just in the first half. This is huge for the first 6 months of 2024. And honestly, he said that wasn't even the only thing. Alpha 4.0, which means server meshing and Pyro connecting to Stanton, is targeted for a summer 2024 release, but he said that there will be more tests like
it's hard to there was a targeted summer 2020 release. There was a first of the year 2021, 2022. Oh, remember when it was supposed to come out this year too? Me too. So
we had before, where players will be able to hop into Pyro and test out the new features. They're going to add more planets and moons and content that people can get to, test out things like the new MFD systems that are coming, resource management. In Jared's own words, he said that 2024 is shaping up to be the watershed year for Star Citizen, basically one of the biggest years of its development since the beginning. And then he capped off the ISC saying, and that's just the first half of the year. So
yeah, and the thing is that's obviously going to be true because every year is a little bit better than the last one because they do more stuff.
in terms of what's in store for the entirety of 2024, they're definitely hyping it like crazy right now. Every single major feature that he talked about on that list would be a huge upgrade to the game, offer tons of different types of gameplay or quality of life changes for players, and I normally would expect to see 1, 2, 3 of those things launched in the first 6 months of 2024. Giving us all of them would be a content injection, I think, unlike most fans of this franchise have ever seen. So very excited, somewhat skeptical, but I think my excitement's overriding that skepticism.
As always, Level's excitement overrides it, but he does, like, so you guys think that he doesn't know, basically. And right there, what he says is like, I only expect a few of these things to happen, but if it does, that's going to be really cool anyway. And he definitely sounds skeptical that all of these things are going to happen. So I think he's got that healthy skepticism that's there, but still remains optimistic.
There's also a pretty
it.
interesting Star Citizen Live with the AI team talking about AI. It's pretty long, and like most of the live events, the really important information is just in tiny little nuggets of it. The big takeaways for me were about how AI works when the server FPS drops. So when you open up your display info graph while you're playing Star Citizen, you'll see your client FPS, which is how many frames you get in-game, and then the server FPS, which is how frequently the server is updating information that it sends to you. And when those server FPS drop below 5, it basically starts to scale back or completely turn off the AI responses. And they do this to keep the rest of the systems in the server functional so that players can still land and access other things like their mobiGlas or terminals and whatnot. The team did mention that the replication layer will hopefully help out the AI systems as well. I didn't get a lot of confidence overall from the AI live stream. It seemed like they had a lot of cool things working behind closed doors and in the single player version of the game, but I didn't hear anything particularly encouraging about how much the AI systems were going to improve in the coming 6 months, year, or whatnot. I'm sure they will, or I hope they will, but this game has a lot of technology pillars that have to be working flawlessly in order for the Star Citizen concept to work, and AI is certainly one of them. They also mentioned that AI...
Yeah, and AI have never worked consistently. We've had like these brief moments. It's awful, but
server blades were for the most part already functioning, and that lots of the capital or large ships that you see that are controlled by AI in the game, and you might have to fight against them while turrets and other things are shooting at you, are already controlled by the AI blade system. But we didn't really get like a due date for when players get their own blades so that they can try and solo their massive scale ships. Hopefully AI performance is going to see an improvement once 4.0 and some of the basic server meshing tech is online, but
we'll see. But again, the replication layer test didn't give me any confidence, and it doesn't seem to have given Level any either.
Also entirely possible that the AI aren't really going to perform consistently at a high level until maybe dynamic server meshing rolls around. So overall, the news coming from Star Citizen right now is very exciting. It's really getting me hyped up. When they say first 6 months of 2024, I mean, that's going to go by fast if they're dropping out this level of content. I mean, they're not going to drop it all at once. It's going to come in waves, and I have a feeling it's going to be hard to...
And I think that's what's important is the amount of waves that they've been doing lately. We've been getting a lot of .1 patches with additions to the current patch that we've been playing in. I really do hope that the 322.1 is interesting. I really and adds a little bit more, and that they're kind of maybe drip feeding a little bit more, so there's always something to check out for a week or a couple weeks, and then you're on to the next patch and you're thinking about the next stuff that's coming. Because lately, or not lately, I guess in the last like couple of years, it's been a lot of all right, you added a new ship, or there might be a new system that you are very interested in or not that interested in, and then you're waiting for the next one. But I think drip feeding, like, obviously they've been drip feeding because this has been going on forever. I think you don't understand what I mean is smaller patches more often. Like adding features to the .1 is not something they typically did. I guess for the last couple of years, the .1 was usually to fix all of the wild crashes and bugs and super problematic issues. It was usually to clean up their awful release. But if you look at 322, it's not that awful in terms of stability and bugs and issues. Most of the bugs that are there are the same ones we've been dealing with forever, with lots of workarounds or whatever, right? So most of them, obviously, that there's issues in every patch. But I think over the last few months, it's been very consistent of like, update. You had a patch on live, and then they were immediately PTU patching something. So there was always a little something to sink your teeth into, even though it wasn't a big grand feature or anything like that. Or unfortunately, I think structural salvage just ended up not being as grand and great as people were definitely anticipating for it to be. But still, I guess, enjoyable nonetheless, and people are still enjoying it. It's definitely not what I would have wanted it to be, but that was still something to sink your teeth in. So with that, that's what I mean, is that maybe in late January, early February, we're getting like .1, .2 patches for 322 with little new things to take a look at, and then that feeds us for a little while longer leading into April, when end of March, April, when they'll release whatever 323 is, and so on and so on and so on, right? So we now know that at the very least, I think the only thing that we can glean from the information that was in this video and that Jared shared is that 4.0 is not at the beginning of the year. 4.0 is not in the middle of the year. 4.0 will be at the end of the year, and we'll have a 323, we'll have a 324, we might have a 325. That is really the only solid information that we can go off of at this time, is that we will have at least 2 patches before 4.0, and most likely more. And it just comes down to what's in those patches and how interesting are they going to be and all that stuff. And that's my only takeaway from the information gathered, because you cannot listen to them. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. They are not to be trusted when they speak about timelines, because they have literally never, ever met one in their entire history.
And stay on top of. I can't wait. Very excited for it. Let me know what you think about the latest 3.22 patch. I know a lot of people are enjoying it. There's a lot of new stuff to do. As always, guys, thanks for watching. And next up, check out this video on the toxic underground of Star Citizen. An interesting dive into what can go on in these massive multiplayer game communities. As always, I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.
All right. Well, thank you, Level. And yeah, I mean, that's basically, I already did my thoughts on the video or whatever, so that's probably where we'll say goodbye. But the idea is I think next year is going to be interesting, but it still isn't is it enough? I don't know. You know? I don't know, man. The 6-month look ahead will be insane if they actually get it. I don't think so. If they deliver every single feature, I still don't think it's good enough. But my expectation is to be playing the video game, not checking out the features. Okay? They could deliver every single one of the things that they said there, and you would still be just checking out the features in a vacuum.